Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with a former world champion and the fastest player out there in the red, the Italian stallion. It's Reynor. But he's up against the People's Terran. In the blue, we have Cure. A best of 5 Terran versus Zerg showdown to determine whether speed is everything or slow and steady is more beneficial for the Terran race. Either way, speaking of slow and steady, Jimmy, what are we at? One more than yesterday. 1,409 likes on this video, on this cast, and I'll cast another one, and I'll probably do it anyways. I don't know what else I'd do with my life, but thank you for watching. Hopefully you've had a good day so far, and hopefully it's about to get a little bit better than these first drones. Queen comes out, not a single loss so far, just a bit of damage on the Zerglings, and some emotional damage to the Queen. Starting to become a little more dramatic as it's a Reaper build. 3 racks Reaper out of Cure. Wants to start things off strong and infuriatingly. At least when it comes to the Zerg. And now the Overlord going to see no expansion at all. Reynor now knows that this is a committed, almost all-in Reaper build. He doesn't need to defend his third. He'd like to, but he doesn't need to defend his third in order to come out relatively even here. He just needs to not take critical economic damage, which is much easier said than done when your queens are getting bounced around, your Zerglings are lacking in their wings, and the Reapers heal in just a few seconds as they back off. Now he jumps up to the main, the Overlord scouting the movements. Speed is still 30-40 seconds out as the queens continue to trundle around. Not the most agile creatures. Reapers, on the other hand, well, it doesn't get much better than that in the early game. Just a bit of creep. He didn't actually commit to taking out the third base. Instead, zoning out the Queen, splits the difference yet again. Another Queen. Transfuse comes through, and there's a lot of Reapers on the field, but Reynor managed to keep his third base intact, and that's a big part of having the Zerglings in order to counterattack and keep Cure contained. Speed is done in 6 seconds. This has to be a little suspicious here. 2, 1, and the Reapers are cut off from escaping. Grenades are good, but bounces some of his own Reapers. Queens are closing in. Zerglings trying to get behind the mineral line. A very good surround. The Queens are closing in. And get off my Queen! Brenda, we talked about this. In game 1, you can't freak out. You're gonna scare people. They should be scared. Sorry, I blacked out for a moment. Overlord coming in. And the Reapers are shut down. Not looking particularly unstoppable here. And engineering bay, part of the wall. I do appreciate the due diligence of putting that engineering bay. So many players will commit so hard to the Reapers that a Baneling bust or a Roach all-in just comes in and suddenly the Zerglings are all over the base. Cure, the reason why he's a top-tier player and a GSL champion is because he covers all the details. He's a bit of a macro player himself. Slow and steady truly wins the race for him. As many times, even though he takes a lot of damage, he's just so efficient with his macro and his infrastructure, which just sounds like complimenting someone on their ability to make spreadsheets, which, when you really boil it down, is what the game is. And then, well, you look at what else you have left, and there's still a lot to go, but at the end of the day, building more stuff than your opponent, I've heard, is oftentimes the best strategy. And right now, the Marines, with Stim moving out, does he have even a factory? Yes, and a starport. And medevacs are on the way. This is a very bold move out of Cure. He's trying to catch Reynor off guard with a bunch of Stim Marines. He's actually going to catch some of the Zerglings on the way, but now you got to be very careful. Takes down one Overlord, will scan, hits the Stims, tries to target a Queen, gonna kite back. And he's already overstayed his welcome, considering he wasn't welcome at all. And Reynor will not be able to crush this attack. But Cure, not finding much progress either. Without the medevacs, this was an incredibly risky move. And I'd say it paid off in that he didn't end up losing the game because of more Zerglings. Reynor just continually caught off guard by the ambitious Marines. They're not supposed to be out here without medevacs. It's not safe, all right? It's dangerous to go alone. But once the medevacs are out, and +1 and Stim are done, things get a bit more dangerous for the Zerglings than they do for the Marines. But Reynor went for a very quick lair. He's rushed into Baneling speed, And again, that speed upgrade kicking in might be a devastating timing for Cure if he's not paying attention. Combat shield will be done 2 seconds before Bane speed. This should... Oh, target fire is pretty good. Targets a few more Banes. Picks up, gets out, almost loses a medevac. But overall, about as good as a trade was going to get there. 10 Marines for 31 Zerglings. Went okay for Cure. The downside, he went for the 3-per build, but he didn't kill the 3rd. He didn't delay it at all, which means Reynor's been working off that extra level of production. Usually Terrans have a 3rd command center to compete with it. And while you can't build workers as fast, we all know how good mules are. But in this case, Cure is sitting on 2 bases, which means he's almost all in at this time. The Queen Mood is coming together. One of the medevacs already badly bruised. 1-1 is on the way for Reynor, but it's not here yet. The Queens have a lot of energy. Reynor's setting up a surround. The tanks need to get in position a lot quicker than this, but it's already too late. The Zerg are here, and everyone... Medevac just barely gets away. The tanks start sieging up the moment the Zerglings reveal themselves, get almost no hits, and unfortunately the Zerglings can't climb over each other to take down that medevac, but Cure is thrown out of Reynor's base, and there's really no follow-up here. It's just going to be more of the same out of Cure, as he doesn't have a 3rd command center. Reynor is recognizing this. He's only had 63 drones, which in most games is a relatively low number, but in this particular situation where he has vision of both 3rd bases, he knows that Cure is all in. He just needs to crush these attacks until there's nothing left. And he's doing a damn good job of it so far. Medevac's forced to pick up again. Is he going to just pull the boys? The SCVs off the line? Cure's building 2 more barracks like this game is going to go on 4 more minutes. At this rate, either Cure breaks the 4th base and makes some progress and either grinds out an opportunity to get a 3rd of his own, or he gets crushed out on the field. Either way, this game should not be going on much longer as Cure is running out of options and running out of real estate. The main base, to an extent, with those first 4 mineral patches, will start mining out momentarily as well. But here comes Reynor yet again. The 360-degree surround, a cinematic crushing of the Marines and the siege tanks, and the Queens will slowly... oh, so slowly, incredibly slowly, yet also somewhat surely take out the Liberators. Though chasing them off a creep is not a long-term survivability goal, or does not bode well for their long-term. They can't transfuse off a creep. Okay, that's what we're getting at. Cure now holding the most random patch of real estate outside. Well, here's the thing, Reynor comes in again, forces a pickup, the desperate route, and Cure is Reynor hasn't killed him, but there's a big difference between not losing and winning, and Cure right now is much closer to the first thing, as Reynor is in such a comfortable position. He's getting a 5th base. In fact, he already has a 5th base, getting his hive. 2-1 done. Cure, to his credit, is going to have +2 infantry weapons. But the Queens have plenty of energy. And ever since the Reapers were ripped apart, this has been Reynor's game to lose. Here. Well, if Reynor just A-moved everything with no control on the Banelings up a ramp into siege tanks and Liberators, then maybe there's a chance here. But he doesn't do that. The Banelings are rolling in. The Marines on the run. Still Banelings trickling through. Siege tank target fire is good. And actually, well, oh. Huh. Huh. Wait, okay. Hydras are out. Cure. The patient man he is. Reynor comes in from just one side and demonstrates how important it is to do anything but that. And now, once again, the 3-pronged surround. A bunch of Marines caught out. Only a single Liberator here. Has to evacuate the Marines. The Hydras pin cushion the Liberators. Gonna knock the rest out of the sky. A no-fly zone for the Terrans now that the Hydras are finally on the field. But Reynor almost proving my worst case scenario accurate. If he hadn't gone Hydras and he didn't have Vipers, which is a big if, but if he didn't have those things, there is still a significant chance that the Terrans could cut their way through. But right now, with another medevac taken out of the sky, it seems very unlikely they'll have that. Yeah, okay. All right. That's more like it. Kira was fighting for that one chance, that one opportunity, and he almost captured it. But Reynor was ready. He had the Hydras, and he had the Vipers. He was feeling a little full of himself coming down the ramp into the siege tanks, but you simply can't do that. All right, you can't fire the Terran head on. You got to go full cinematic Zerg. That's the only chance you have. Even against a two-base, even if they're all in, the concentrated firepower of the siege tanks and the Marines is just too much if you're only coming in from one angle. And that brings us to game 2. Jimmy, that brings us to game 2. Huh. We're on Dynasty, which is certainly a less favorable map for the Zerg. Any map where the Terrans can get a gold base and challenge yours. Reynor's expanding to the outside, because if you expand to the inside, you just got Reapers firing over the mineral wall all day. And then siege tanks, and then liberators. The only way to defend the gold is to proactively expand to the other side of it. That's what's been worked out here. Still quite annoying to deal with, but you can't just expand to your naturey, because if they go for the gold, you're just behind. They have more money. And while you can maybe send a Ravager or two across to poke and prod, it's unlikely to be especially if they go Banshees or something, it's not going to happen. So Reynor just putting himself out there, not afraid to be drawn into a fight early, as we saw in last game with Cure. 3 Rax Reaper, the reason the 2 Rax Reaper is so good is it's relatively cheap. You can expand in a timely fashion and maybe even still delay their third. But Cure wanted to win the game with the Reapers. That is my interpretation. He dove into the main. He didn't concentrate on taking out a hatchery or queens. He was trying to get in and just outright kill all of Raider's units. And Reynor read him like a particularly tired book. Like a book that you read a lot. And therefore, not the book itself isn't tired. Books don't have feelings. They're inanimate objects. Like and subscribe, and thank you for coming to my TEDx talk. Meanwhile, the Queens trying to get rid of the Reaper. This time, Cure making up for the command centers he was unable to build last game. Gets 2 of them, even before the factory finishes. A very quick 3cc, but a very hard thing to actually punish for Reynor, who's getting a Roach Warren. Not the least bit surprising. A Cyclone is on the way. Did he actually see the Roach Warren? No, well, he did now. A grenade. The Reaper's inside the house. Sir, young man. You can't be here. This is a message from the Hatchery Owners Association. With all due respect. Fuck off. All right. Sorry. Pardon my French. I've been watching too much Clem. Lair's on the way. Is this a Nidus? That seems optimistic. Could just be roach speed, but there's only 2 bases. Which, oh. German taxi bill. Gonna chauffeur the Queens across. And just try to drop in and take the win. Not surprising to see it. The lair will be spotted by the Sacrificial Reaper. 2 Dropper Lords on the way. And the Queens will fly again. In some fashion. What is this? He's scouting for an Overlord. Just a Slovene now. With that lifted barracks. Well, the Overlord speed timing is a bit on the slow side, but we get there eventually. Roach Ravager on the way. Reynor is very all in with this. And, you know, Cure already has a bunker as well. Yeah, he's about to finish a siege. Oh, he's so ready. Oh, he went Cyclones instead of Hellions. This is almost gonna stop me from juggling the Ravagers with the Dropper Lord. And the Queen! We've arrived! Juggling the Ravagers with the Dropper Lord like it's a warp prism here. The Cyclones, Reynor working around the edges. There's a lot of progress that needs to be made. Some creep tumors out there. Queen working on the bunker. And, you know, it's a contain now. And Reynor is clearly, that he's got 8 more drones on the way. He's got evolution, second evolution chamber, +1 carapace. So he's just gonna contain Cure. 5 SCVs dead to the Queen Ravager combo. I think he built the Ravagers after dropping the Roaches out. Huh. You know, I kind of love it. Cure knew something like this was coming. Maybe not exactly what it was, but clearly he was preparing for a ground-based attack. But even then... Huh. Now, the issue for Reynor is while he has the supply, while he has the map control, while he has, even now, the economy. So, all those things sound great, and they are. But Cure has been angling towards this tank marine timing. And there's going to be a window, whether it's with 1-1 or not, that Cure can move out and will just simply have a better army. Because Reynor will not have Banelings, he will not have Hive for Vipers, but he does have Creep, both all the way outside and his own base as well as Cure. In fact, his Creep spread outside Cure's base is arguably better. Just containing as well as providing vision. It's the Creep tumors themselves that provide vision. Creep itself doesn't magically provide vision. Corrosive Bows doing a lot here. And I said, well, would Banshees exist? This doesn't work very well. Well, I don't see any Banshees. Their cloaking devices must be amazing. Might have, I don't know what you expected, Cure. The 1 scan should take care of it. +1 is done. Seconds before +1 carapace, and the Marines just gunned down the Ravagers. Oh, and now with Medivacs out. But Reynor is up 60 supply. He's got a Hive on the way. He's filling in. Okay, you gotta kill those creep tumors, bro. Cure. Oh, the people's Terran. He didn't get the creep tumors. Has to use a second scan. And Reynor just... A revolving door. The Queen's coming around. Ambling up. Transfusing the Ravagers. A real support class here. And the Roach is scuttling back to deal with the inevitable drops. But Cure has been bottled up in his own base. Reynor has done an incredible job of just keeping him contained without committing a huge amount of units. And now he's at 72 drones. This is awkward at best for Cure. Roach Ravager is not great, but quantity has a quality all its own. And a Contaminate on an engineering bay that wasn't upgrading, but the fact it wasn't upgrading is already problematic. The Queens are finally slaughtered. And the Creep is cleaned up, and Cure actually has done a great job of dealing with that. Finally found the cure to the tumors. He's down 80 supply. There's already Vipers in production. Reynor sprinted to Hive, and now will be there in a very timely fashion before a cure could even move out of his base. Reynor's just... This drop finding some progress, but there's still corrosive biles raining down. Didn't even repair the bunker. You're gonna drop in. 80 supply gap. And it's not gonna get much easier here. A double drop in the back though. Baneling's coming in. Picks up, gets out, still dealing with the Ravagers. Parasitic bomb on the medevac, but he just kind of guns down the Zerglings. There's gonna need to be more there. Here come the Banes. Not a bad trade. Ultraless Cavern though on the way. And a bit of an optimistic attack here. God, the SCVs just keep getting taken out by the corrosive biles. 8 more SCVs dead. Reynor just said, no, you don't get a third. My favorite strategy, my favorite little, not even really a gimmick, but my little scene strategy. And I'm not talking about like, oh my god, he made mutas, but the queen drop for creep. My second favorite part of that is doing the hatchery cancel for creep. It's really not that relevant nowadays because creep spreads and recedes so quickly, and usually by the time you get to lair, it's not that important to get creep out there. Back in the day, Wings of Liberty, creep spread and receded about half as fast. So, but here comes quite a big fight. Yanks in one of the tanks. Parasitic bomb, but Kira's taking horrible damage. The medevacs are almost dead already. The bio trying to hold the line. There aren't that many banelings, but there's just so much roachling. One more parasitic bomb could wipe out all of the medevacs on the field, and Reynor might just be able to Zerg over the top of this. Corrosive Bow looking to knock out the supply depots. Wow. Another game where Kira's forced to tap out when he's kind of winning a fight. Like, he just recognizes how it's going to go. And it's not going to get any better for him. Oh my. Huh. Reynor just kind of annexing the map. Not giving Kira anywhere to go. And choking him out. Well, simply just don't let your opponent ever expand or move out of their base, and you'll be fine. Now, I gotta say, there's a notable lack of Banshees. I feel like Banshees are the way. Alright, I have strong feelings on this, indeed. Almost as strong as my feelings about whether people like or subscribe. And that's, you know, that's pretty strong. So, Reynor already on match point. But now, Oceanborn. The fact that Kira couldn't get anything going on Dynasty does not bode well for his livelihood as this series goes on, but gonna go with the 2 Rax Reaper. Give it another shot. Now, will it just be 2, or does he add on the 3rd Rax? Because it is a distinct difference. Oh my. You sly dog. He's gonna try it again. 3 Rax Reaper. The Beyond Special. The problem with this is the Overlord will scout the command center timing. Not that that can be avoided, but that's part of the reason Reynor was able to tailor a response directly to what this is you can see if they don't have a command center, they're probably spending the money somewhere else. You don't just not spend your money at this level of StarCraft 2. Wow, interesting. So Reynor actually banked up some extra money, and I think was trying to figure out whether or not he was dealing with the 2 Rax Reaper. Yeah, has enough for Zergling speed here, pulls off. Not going to have a quick 3rd. Overlord wandering in. The Reaper poking and prodding. Getting any drones would be very nice. He's kind of preempted the 3rd base just by having these Reapers. Reynor not even attempting it this time. Instead, he has the quicker gas. Queen pops out. 1 Zergling taken down. And the timer has started. Zergling speed is usually the end of this. But with no 3rd base, Cure can find a potential advantage in something that isn't just killing a base. Oh, he's kiting back. Great kiting so far. He goes for the block with the evolution chamber, but just slides around the corner. The queens not in position. Gets, whoa! Knocks him into the air. Well, water, surf, towards the surface. Quite a satisfying animation there. But look at the drone count. Now, this is the difference. With no third base, you can't really explode in the drone count in the same way. You don't have that level of production. So if Cure is careful and keeps those Reapers on the edge of the creep, but without committing them, Reynor can't be nearly as greedy. He can't hit that production timing to explode his economy and just overrun the field. He has to play it a little safer because there could be more Reapers. There could be just a full-on transition to bio. It's quite hard to tell at this stage. There isn't an Overlord in position, but now it's finally moving in. Has he even seen the command center yet? No. He will momentarily. The lack of Reapers anywhere near his creep is already a bit of a giveaway, but Cure has now transitioned. He's got Stim in production. He's got the factory on the way. And +1 attack. And this is going to be a much more dangerous timing than pretty much anything else we've seen so far. Now, where does Reynor... Oh. Alright. Overlord, trying to find the sweet spot, but apparently there isn't one. The Overlord will actually be taken out by the Marines. Baneling Nest is on the way. No lair yet. And that means no Baneling speed. But no Baneling speed, as we follow along this elementary flowchart, with no Baneling speed, it's a lot easier to deal with the Banes. They're no longer the hard counter to these early Marines, but instead just an option. And sometimes just a prayer. But thankfully this is Cure, not his teammate Clem. And there's still the Reapers as well, which can help bounce around the Queens. Might be able to help against the Banes. Generally a dangerous army. Moving out before the Medivacs. I think, again, trying to catch Reynor off guard. By moving out just a little bit earlier. Yes, there's a risk. But the payoff could be dramatic. Pulls a few more Marines into the Medivacs, the Queens. All right. Ooh, here hits the stims. That's going to drain the energy from the Medivacs immediately. What if Reapers could stim? Maybe next patch. Well, here's just now about to finish. Cure actually has more workers now. Though Reynor does have the third base, so he's more efficient. Zergling's trying to surround. I don't think everyone can fit into those Medivacs, and if he loses one of them... Wait, whoa, whoa, whoa! There's no Banelings here! And the Marines stand tall and cut down the Terran... the Zerg. The Swarm, lacking in Banelings, unable to get the surface area to take out the Marines in the center, who can fire through their brothers. Through their new... Don't ask how that works, alright? It works very well, though. Baneling speed on the way. But without it, Cure has another army coming across. Reynor's down in supply. Just the simple difference of keeping the Reapers alive here has been a dramatic one, as well as any delay in Bane speed. It's about to complete, but the siege tank is in position. The creep is already being cleared up. The Queens have a lot of energy to work with. Reynor, is he waiting on anything? He's waiting on the Lings and Banes to come up, already losing some of the Queens. Knocks out one of the Medivacs. Reynor setting up a obvious surround that Cure, I'm sure, is aware of. But his goal is to either trained so well he can follow this up or straight up win the fight. And oh no, Liberators are coming across. And the Liberators make this so incredibly difficult to dislodge. There's no unit here, including the Queens, that can really deal with Liberators easily. And even though they're not going to take out the Ling Bane very quickly, he's covering his own back there. Still no third base out of Cure. Completely all in on 2 base. Well, Reynor doesn't have a great economy himself, so he has to deal with this army at least once in order to really take advantage of his third. And right now, it's just Lings and Banes. That's a lot of Marines. +2 attack is on the way. Reynor reaches for Burrow, which is probably the cheapest choice that doesn't involve getting more tech like Hydras. A very optimistic creep tumor from that Queen. Cure just camped out. Has the Liberators. A Venn diagram of defense overlapping on that siege tank. And more siege tanks getting closer. And now things... Well, he's in range of the hatchery. Things must happen soon. Reynor still doesn't have that +1 carapace done, but I don't think he's going to have time to wait. Here come the Queens. The Lings and Banes looking for a massive surround, but the double siege push. Here are the Lings and Banes. The medevacs are out of position, but the target fire on the siege tanks, thinning out the Banes dramatically. The Liberators having a tough time dealing with this, but look at the supply. 91 to 121. Yes, he took out some of the tanks. Yes, he took out some of the Marines, but the Banelings are mostly exhausted. The Queens have been thinned out, and the hatchery is still under fire. More Liberators. The Lings can't even close the distance. He has to commit to a full attack or not even bother. More Liberators coming up. Slurps up the Marines, evades the Banelings, and reinforcements are marching across the map. Baneling mine attempted, but under a scan is probably not going to find a lot of success. The Queen's trying to take down the Liberators. It's a difficult process on the best of days, and right now the day is not going well. More Banelings just slamming into the Marines, but the siege tanks strike back, and this time Reynor is forced to tap out as Cure grinds his way up through the Zerg. Just not enough. Cure learned his lesson. He found the antidote. Just stay alive. Live long enough with those Reapers to keep them at bay. And Reynor, without a third base, was not able to have the production to just crush the army. And Cure, that is, Cure's MO is become so difficult to dislodge, eventually he kills you. Not quickly, but methodically. Slow and steady. No amount of micro will solve the problem of Liberators being untouchable in that position. If you don't have Hydras, you don't have Vipers, or you don't have Ravagers. Yes, those are 3 very common options. Eventually, the Liberators are just too much. The tanks are good, but Zerglings can claw at them. The Liberators, on the other hand, literally only the Queens. So, a well-executed 2-base timing. And even though Reynor knew it was coming, he just didn't have enough to deal with it. Alright, on to Amphion for Game 4. Not a clean sweep. Honestly, I'd be kind of surprised if it was. I feel like Cure's style is almost the, we can't make more puns, can we? Sure. Antidote to Reynor's style, where Reynor's ridiculous speed has him, one, very difficult to deal with. He will match you on the field. He'll chase down your medevacs. He'll counterattack into your third. So Cure is choosing these 2-base timings, which gives Reynor very little to exploit, because Reynor is the faster player. I don't think anyone's going to argue with that. Cure certainly not. But there's just one big methodical attack, and there's no amount of Zergling micro that's going to solve that. So Cure choosing very wisely. Reaper gets into the main. The Queen waiting patiently. But the Reaper just kind of runs out as, well, I guess it can. Kind of rude. Third base on the way. Looks like we have something resembling a more standard opener for both sides. Got the 1-1-1, the Destiny Cloud Fist build I've heard it called, and what I think was a fever dream. Meanwhile, the third base with Zergling. Wait, that is a late 100 gas he's got going on. Sit down. What is he gonna do with it? Reynor said he got 92 gas. Which, well, he's trying to chase down the Hellions here. Hellions 3 and 4 not out yet. Gets one of them. And just working on the natural. It's very odd to just have 92 gas. He's not going for Zergling speed. Well, he can't go for anything with 92. I imagine it's going to be a lair. Yeah, I'm mining gas again now. Roach one's on the way. And he even got up the ramp with the Zerglings. He didn't see the starport, but the Hellions kind of give some of that away. Still no commitment to either Zergling speed or a lair, but it has to be a lair, right? Be very odd to just go for a bunch of roaches and no lair. Banshee's on the way. No cloak, but there aren't that many queens. 5 queens. He's not building the mass queen style like we've seen in the previous games. Looks like he's just going to build a bunch of sloaches. So a delayed Banshee will actually find maybe not a lot of success in killing the economy, but Reynor clearly not expecting this, as building this many roaches is not going to find really much in general. The Overlord spotted the Banshee. There's no more hiding from it. If you can see the Overlord can see you. You're both flying units, okay? One of you has more tentacles than the other, but I'm not here to judge. Roach is scurrying. He knows now that there's a Banshee on the field, so he's trying to evade it. Behind it, we got 1-1 and Stim. Any Evo chambers for Reynor? Reynor is still almost all in. Like, the Banshee spots the roaches, but there's already a siege tank out. Yeah, this isn't gonna do anything. Are the queens coming? No. Whole bunch of Zerglings. Wow. Reynor's just going. He's fully committed. Even though the Banshee scouts all this, he's just gonna go for it. But a siege tank on the high ground, the Ravagers. If he kills the Banshee, maybe he can continue. But Reynor really trying to make this work, but Cure has already preemptively dealt with it. Will he send drones across to mine through the mineral? He's going to take down the rocks, but Cure has a third command center landing. He has more workers now, and he's working towards the +1/+1 and more siege tanks. So this is all a very long way of saying Reynor just went so far down this road that it's going to be almost impossible to either turn around or take an exit to somewhere that leads towards a viable unit composition, as opposed to running into a brick wall of marine fire. Maybe not a brick wall, like a lead wall. Like depleted uranium or whatever they're using. It doesn't matter. Yeah, 1-1's on the way, but nearly a full upgrade advantage for Cure. Quite a comfortable position to be in, knowing there was such a commitment to that Roach Lane, and he found no economic damage at all from it. So even though Cure is on 3 bases to going on 4, he has the production. He's adding barracks 6, 7, and 8, the Octo Rex. And it's up to Reynor to come up with a good enough unit composition. Maybe he can win the first fight, maybe the second, but it's going to be the fights after that as time goes on. that are so difficult to deal with the unit composition lacking in anything to really take down the medevacs or deal with the siege tanks. And this map is not particularly conducive to easily surrounding or crushing Marines or tanks. There's choke points, mineral walls, just general shenanigans, left, right, and center. No matter which way you really define that on this sort of map layout. There's the infestation pit. So Reynor needs to survive the next few minutes without taking critical damage. Otherwise, Kira will be teed up for a top tier 2-2 timing. Infestation pit's done. Scanning forward. Queens. Medevac's just anchoring the queens back here. Two queens at the front. Lost track of those medevacs for a moment. 2-2's on the way, though. And Cure, even on supply, there's no reason not to go. He's at 62 SCVs. This is effectively a 3-base all-in. The Octo-Rax timing. It's not even a particularly old build, but it certainly checks out. This is what Oliveira was using to take on Cyril not so long ago. And to remarkable success. But here comes Reynor with the best possible placement. Before the 2-2's done, the Banelings trickle through, and Cure is driven off the field. He lost all his siege tanks, a lot of the Marines, and damage was done in the center, but at the back, he's jammed in. He takes out the extractors. He killed 5 drones. So Reynor manages to take the best possible fight. And that brings him... well, he didn't lose any ground here. But these Marines just continue to stand their ground, which is Reynor's main base. The Zerglings aren't enough. You need Banelings. And he's just tearing through everything. The 2-2 finished. A 2 upgrade advantage for the Marines makes them almost unkillable. The medevacs chasing down. Once again, Cure getting stuck out on the field. Reynor able to set up these surrounds constantly. It's just Cure's sheer momentum is carrying him forward. And look at the supply. Reynor keeps trying to replace what he lost, whereas Cure already has and is marching across the map. The siege tanks tanking, which is not their usual purpose. Oh. But the Marines in the main will gun down any last defenders. The hive itself is vulnerable. Marching into the 4th base. There is a 5th in the bottom right corner. But that's probably next on the agenda. As Reynor now down 50 supply. 2-2 upgrades about to complete, but Reynor commits to a fight just before, and Corrosive Bile will land, but Cure is able to tie things up with an incredibly well-executed timing, again focused on quantity over quality, but he had enough stuff in the right place at the very right time to bring it home. So now we go to game 5, and just like that, it's a best of 1. Alcyone will be the choice. A map that I think is close to dead even in terms of win rates. Nobody too unhappy with it. I'm surprised Amphion didn't end up being the game 5 map, but here we go. Both players playing to their strengths and finding success in half the game so far. The problem is I think Cure has the momentum now. He's adapted. He knows what Reynor wants to do. I'm sure there's no substitute, all right? Everyone has a plan until they get Banelings in the mouth. Jimmy, just edit that out. All right, nobody wants... But Cure getting kind of backhanded in games 1 and to an extent game 2. No, what? Okay, well, he's going with 3 racks again, which... Well, he's on the right side of the map. which is the right side of the map, where the add-ons are not exposed, is where if you want to follow up the Reapers. So we'll see if third time is indeed the charm or the curse. Here we go again. He's already set it up. He has that space for add-ons. Terrans, they might have learned after the Brood War the technology to raise and lower depots, to have add-ons you could switch between their buildings, but they never learned how to put them on different sides of the buildings. The small version of this for Zerg is most relevant in ZVZ, but occasionally in other matchups, is the Queen always pops out on the south side of the hatchery, and as does the larva. So not nearly as impactful as where your add-ons are for Terran, but occasionally the Queen popping out, say, on the outside when it comes to dealing with things like Reapers can make the difference. Once again, not nearly as relevant as the add-ons, but a small version of it. The dance continues. At this point, he's very aware it's 3 racks Reaper. So Reynor's working with all that information. We'll see how he changes it up. If it all, he gets one.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Getting any Reapers before Zergling speed is done is already a minor miracle. And he's going to look to compound on that once he has the links with speed. It comes down to the micro. Reynor is investing almost everything into Zerglings. He really needs to kill Reapers here. If he does all this and Cure's able to get away, that's an absolute economic disaster. So the Reapers, they're looking. Are they finding the Lings? They see them. And kind of an awkward corner. He gets 2 trapped up against the gas geyser. Grenade ends up bouncing the Reapers themselves back. Gonna kill another one, but the Reapers managed to jam themselves into the mineral line. I mean, Terran is just one step away from Terran. And right now it's working against Reynor. But the Queens from the high ground! Get off my creep and also creep-related areas. Just get out. Okay, it doesn't really roll off the tongue. Susan, you can stop. Susan. Just shh. The Reapers are dead. And that means Reynor can safely get his third base. He knows what the follow-up is going to be. Yes, it cut into his economy to build that many Zerglings. He lost 23. But for 9 Reapers, that is a bargain. So now with the third base on the way, and Queens with enough energy to get the creep spread out there, I would put this advantage to Reynor. Not as much as game 1, but not nearly as tough of a position as, I think it was Oceanborn. Game 3, I think. So we found a middle ground here. 50 drones, though. And that's before the third is done. He was able to sink all of that larva into the economy now. And Cure just... he's 2-basing for days. And, you know, I can't really blame him for focusing on these timings. He's playing to his strengths and the strengths of Terran in this matchup, which is putting the pressure onto the Zerg before they get all their tech online, before they have creep all over the entire map. Dynasty was a bit different on that one. Before they have Vipers and Adrenal Glands and all these things that you pretty much have to be Clem in order to micro against. So focusing on these sharp, decisive timings has paid off, and he's going to try it one more time. Medevac's heading out. Queens have built up a lot of energy. So a lot of it was used for creep as well. Reynor at 55, 56 drones, which is not great, not terrible. He's got Baneling speed on the way, but here come the Marines. And this first exchange is going to be such a huge deal. As Zergling speed, well, obviously Zergling speed is done, but Baneling speed is pretty far off. The Queen's looking to snipe off one of those medevacs. An entire lineage of Queens here. He's got 11 of them on the field. Most of them pulled to the front to try to deal with the medevacs. Reynor trying to buy time for Baneling speed. Such a critical upgrade in dealing with this. That counterattack, trying to cut off some of the reinforcement. I don't think that's gonna go well. Yeah. Hey, oh, a little sloppy from Cure. Actually, the Zerglings, well, they did okay. And the longer this goes on, the better it is for Reynor. He can trade out Zerglings for Marines, because if he thins out the critical mass of Marines, then it becomes a lot easier to surround and kill them later on. If there are enough Marines to just grind through dozens of Lings and Banes, it's very difficult to actually set up a surround. But here come the Queens. There's not a surround here. Baneling's trickling in. The target fire. Oh no, there's a bunch of units in that medevac. The Queen count is so damn high. The biomass in between the bio and the mass of Marines. That's so many Queens, and they all have transfuses as well. That's holding the line, and the energy keeps building. With this many Queens, just like medevacs, you build up the energy over time. 15 Queens! And a Baneling mine, but in such an obvious location that's certainly going to be scanned. Cure is just chilling at the watchtower. Almost an impossible location to actually attack for Zerg, which is why Reynor keeps pulling back. The Zerglings! Alright, there's only one tank here. The Zerglings try to collapse on it. Reynor has not built drones for quite a while. Cure has not built SCVs. Both of them are all in, at least at the moment. Obviously, Reynor has an easier time potentially transitioning. But Cure just flies over like a diamond player here. It's like, well, it's way too scary to walk out. And you know, in this case, his fears are justified, as there's a couple dozen Lings and Banes sitting right outside his base. He's actually safer flying out. He's gonna scan, right? Like, there's no way that Bane Mine actually finds a connection. It may... Oh, come... Oh, accidentally so. But the Marines are moving forward. The Liberators are being added on. Oh my god! There are 19 Queens and 109 Zerglings! Well, well, well. Alright. Everyone's here. The full surround. He's setting it up. Reynor holding the line with the Queens. He's trying to wait out +2 Carapace. The Queens actually have so much energy. Is that everyone? Almost, almost. Brenda, Lucille, Jennifer, Sybil, Edna. Is that you, Edna? Oh my god, is Dorothy here? Betty? And you know, I haven't seen some of you in so long, like since the war. But I'm glad. I bet you're wondering why I've gathered you here today. Because we're waiting for +2 Carapace, and we need to hold the line. And now +2 Carapace is done. So I think it's time. Well, the Banelings not finding a lot of success. Will Reynor go? The tension. 119 Lings. 125 Lings. Neither player has made workers in so long, but here we go! All across the board! +2 weapons and +1. Banelings trickling through. The Liberators, the Queens are marching forward. Some of them still in the creep of the back line. But the Terran army grinds through the reinforcements. And Reynor suffered heavy losses. So did Cure, but Cure still has the Liberators. 200 Zerglings have died in just 11 minutes. The Marines fighting the queen line. Gonna go for the 4th base, but, well, the Zerglings are overrunning the tanks despite the Liberators. An overlapping Venn diagram of freedom. The Queens will suffer terrible losses in fighting the Liberators, but not so terrible that they can't weather it. He scans looking for an alternative base. And Cure, if there was a base mining there, I think would have left the game. But right now, the main base is floating over. We've come to the natural conclusion of these two and their strategies. Reynor, just setting up to deal with effectively a 2-base all-in. And Cure getting better and better about being patient with his 2-base all-in. And it feels like Reynor's in a better position. But it felt like that before. And now Cure, on just 45 SCVs, is going for +3 weapons. Reynor is just now starting at Infestation. He's a long way off getting a high. Oh my god! That's gonna be a no. There are Baneling mines scattered throughout. There's so limited scans. Reynor, this feels like a game that was dead even for so long, but Reynor's pulling away with it dramatically. And Cure is going to be stuck with one big attack against what is going to be a Hive-Tech Zerg. Banelings are scattered throughout. He can't afford to scan. He's building a 3rd command center now. Is Cure really gonna just sit back? I believe so. He's just gonna sit back. He's gonna let Reynor come to him. Now, Reynor has been known in the past to get aggressive, even we saw it in Game 1, where he took an almost game-losing fight because he thought he was so far ahead, he was too big to fail. I think that's what Cure is counting on here. Something like that. Because a 70 supply gap is quite a hill to climb. Cure. We've just... The game kind of paused for like 5-6 minutes as they both built up. And that's why they're such... oh my god. 143 Zerglings. Adrenal glands on the way. Scanning for Bane mines. I think he actually found one. Yeah. More Banelings on the way. He's got, well, nearly 200 Lings and Banes. He can't build anymore. He has so many Queens and Vipers that he can't get to 200 Lings and Banes. The Queen count is ridiculously high. Again, Cure. The way to avoid Bane mines is simply fly over where they potentially are. And so far, that's somewhat successful. He's got +3/+1. Oh my god, there's so many Lings here. He's forced to pick up another, but he's gonna go for the base, but there's so many transfuses. There's a blood bank of transfuses here. And he's forced back. Even though the Queens were physically getting in the way of everything else. Eventually the Lings and Banes trickle through. Cure still has a lot of army supply, but Reynor's building up a bank. He's getting all the upgrades. It's getting to the point where Reynor, it doesn't really matter because he can lose a fight and rebuild. 23 larvae and counting. I'm surprised it's not higher with this many Queens. Though he has been just building Lingbane for so long. I believe he even has the Hydra upgrades. 150 Lings! Just blast the planetary. Kira's trying to drag this into a full... multiple liberators. Even with the queens, you still have to have them in position. Gonna pop some of the drones. Until the spore crawler's done, this is actually remarkably difficult. There's a Bane mine. Doesn't even bother with it. Kills a medevac with widow mines. Liberator transfuses, keeping it together while the queen injects of all things. But Reynor is now maxed out. He's just building more and more Banes. He just crushes the... Wow, that's a lot of Marauders. 19 Marauders. Which are pretty good against Ling Bane, but against Hydras, they just... yeah. Not so great. But the Vipers... Kira actually has more army supply right now. Splits up. Quarantines one medevac, but here come the queens. Consume. And Zergling's already split off to the north side. It's just an orbital command. He can overrun the ground. Yes, there's a Liberator, but it doesn't fire nearly quickly enough. And here comes the bio. This is it. He's going for it. Blinding Cloud. Banelings rolling in. Blinding Cloud forces units forward. Reynor actually doesn't break through. 26 SCVs dead back at home. A couple of the queens. There's a Bane mine here, though, and he hits it. Yeah, it's enough. He continues working his way through, but there's no economy to follow this up. Parasitic bomb. The queen's transfusing. Cure keeps trying to push past the halfway mark of the map, and Reynor keeps running him down. Another attack, but this time with half of what he had just 30 seconds ago. The Vipers looking for more and more damage, but he's running out of real estate, he's running out of time, he's running out of minerals. And he's running out of letters to type on his keyboard that aren't G. More Widow Mines. It's just Marines. Guns down a couple more queens there. Zergling's overrunning the natural. He's fighting the Hydras. The Banelings are getting too close. The last Marines are hunted to extinction. And the Zerg will be the only ones left. Reynor loses 500 Zerglings in 19 minutes. One of the most intense standoffs I've seen in this matchup, probably ever. Both players knew exactly what was going down, and neither could make any progress. Possibly the most queens I've seen outside of a trolling lower-level player's video, including mine. But, well, the whole cast was here. And hopefully, you enjoyed the cast. Reynor takes it 3-2 over Cure. And that was one of the more strategic series as well, where clearly both players had a plan and executed it to the best of their ability. And, well, hopefully it made your day just a little bit better. Thank you for watching. If you got the means and motivation, be awesome. Check out Patreon or YouTube membership. But I hear liking and subscribing is still free, at least for now. So I'll see you next time. Good luck. Have fun. Thank you for watching. Stay chill.